recommendation, but it's going to be up to those individual county clerks as the chief election officers in their county and their county commissions as to what they can afford. And we need to find that maybe the one size doesn't fit all. We let them continue to vote where they want to with pencil. What Terry likes to say is this machine that they are doing is nothing more than an electronic pen. It is going to mark a ballot, and then that person gets to look at the ballot just like the people in Braxton County look at the filled-in ballot they have. And then it is put into a machine, and there's a triplicate form of the physical ballot, the electronic ballot, and it's on a thumb drive, then gets taken in for the final vote or whatever. So you have ways of going back. If you have a question, you can investigate it thoroughly. And I think it sounds like a great system. I'm anxious to see it on Thursday morning. But my point in all of this is we've got to go with what works in the specific counties, depending on their funding, their electronics, their populace, and let the county clerk dictate what works in their county.
And I agree. Last year when I voted, I went with my dad, who's 70 years old, and my son, who's 18 years old. My son immediately went to the electronic. My dad immediately grabbed a piece of paper. So we have to blend in both right now because my son wanted to use something that wasn't with a pencil. My dad wasn't going to use anything that wasn't with a pencil. It's much like the newspaper. When I say that, times change. If I called my son to get a date of an obituary of a friend I want to visit, my son's going to pull up his phone and he's going to pull up the Clarksburg Exponent. If I called my dad for that, I'll hear my dad scrambling in the kitchen to find the newspaper that he read corner to corner in the morning. It's just a different generation, and we have to do that. And then, of course, the new technology does come in. You know, I'm blessed to come from a healthy county in Harrison County, where our county commission is healthy. I've been traveling the state, as you know. Some counties do not have the means to change, even if they wanted to. And that's just a fact of the state times right now. Some counties are healthy, some municipalities are healthy, some states are healthy, some aren't. We're blessed here that we are relatively a healthy state. We can help our counties, and our counties can help our municipalities. But just like everything else, things are going to change. There is going to come a time, just like an 8-track, a cassette player, and now a disc. It's going to change where there is only digital or electronic voting, and that's okay. And we'll know when that time is. And the only way we'll know when that time is by communicating with our city and county clerks to let them tell us, okay, our people are ready for this. Last election, 75% of the people grabbed the electronic way of voting as opposed to the paper voting. And when that time's ready, then we'll move forward as a state. And we'll do it by working with the people that are in the know instead of taking it for granted that we know everything in the Secretary of State. We'll work with people in the trenches that are running the elections as opposed to assuming the full responsibility on ourselves.
Sorry, but does that mean in Harrison County you have different types of voting methods being used at the same time in the same election?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
That was a lot.
Well, sometimes some counties use iVotronics for their early voting, or some may use optical scan. Harrison County has moved from iVote to optical scan also. And, you know, a couple of things, getting back to your question too, Whitney, is it's important. One of the steps that you'll see are e-poll books, which is modernizing elections even more. And, you know, I might just push back a little bit with these two gentlemen. Let's not sell short our older folks in West Virginia. Many of them have embraced electronic voting, the iVotronics. And as a matter of fact, there are poll workers who have now used the electronic poll books, e-poll books, and they say, you always have e-poll books. If you don't have e-poll books, then I'm not going to be a poll worker, because that modernization has made such a difference for them, and not having to lug the big books that you turn around and you sign. And so we have had successes with our iVotronics and with e-poll books, especially.
Actually, regardless of whether you use the electronic or the paper, you still have to sign.
I'd like to get a reaction from each of you to the story that's on the front page today in the paper. But first, I wanted to ask Natalie a question after I read David Gutman's story that came to mind to me. You have the two of the largest counties in the state, and you have the clerks opting out of this online voting. But we didn't hear a word about it. You've got people that are going on to your website to online vote, yet there's no message at the top saying, hey, if you're from Kanawha County or Cabell County, you're out of luck. It's not going to work. And you have the potential, if not for some person who was a voter in Cabell County that tipped us off, the Cabell County clerk and Vera McCormick here never said a word that they weren't accepting this. So I don't get, you guys all talk about transparency and everything, but there was just no communication. You know where I am. I mean, you could come down and say, hey, we got a problem. You know, these people are going online and it's not going to, they're not going to get registered. Even though they think they are registered, they're not going to get registered. So why was nothing done to communicate that this was an issue going back to October, I believe?
Well, there has been something done, and we've worked with these two county clerks, and if you see from the article, we have given them all the information that they've requested. If they choose not to retrieve that from us, we can't control the clerks, and so we have been working with them. There was a story back in February about this also. In Kanawha County in particular, did you catch when I said 53.5% of the clerks are using this?
Yes.
Because in Kanawha County, it appears that, I don't know if she's picking or choosing, but she is processing some online applications. And so that's when we've been working with the Kanawha County clerk since October, as you talked about, some have been processed, some have not been processed. And that's really a follow-up to the story that needs to be done. Why are you processing some and not processing all? And when I had talked to the county clerk in Cabell and Kanawha, we all thought that we had the solution. And then she continued not to process them. So, you know, there is part of this legislation, of this law that was passed in 2013, that says that the clerk can choose whether or not to be part of this system. But what I say is you can choose that, but you can't choose to misstate the facts. And the facts are, and the only reasons that we've gotten are that it's against the law. Well, if you go back into the code and look at this law from 2013, this process is not against the law. And then secondly, they're misstating the facts by saying it's not secure, when it is actually even more secure than your paper registration. And if you just take a simple look at the paper registration, it asks, and I'll even read the section, enter your West Virginia driver's license or DMV issued non-driver's license ID. If you do not have a West Virginia driver's license or DMV issued ID, then enter the last four of your social. If you don't have either of these numbers, enter none, and an ID will be assigned to you. So that's for your paper ballot. But to be able to use the online voter registration, you have to have a driver's license number or a state ID number, and you have to input your 4 digits of your social security number. If you don't have that, you don't get to continue on to the rest of the process. So right there is one step in the security already that's more secure than this. And I don't know why they're not choosing to use this, because take the Secretary of State's office out, take the county clerk's office out, and let's look at what the voters wanted. 1,300 voters in Cabell County want to use online voter registration. 6,000 people in Kanawha County want to use it. Let's listen to the voters.
Right, and I get that, but why isn't there something on the website that says, do you live in Kanawha County? And if you check that box, then it ought to just be white.
You shouldn't be able to, but hang on a second. What's taking place? I'm still on the side of the voter here, because when you
But they're
still,
allowed under the law to opt out.
hang on a second. When you still submit from Kanawha County, what's taking place? The process is still going, and both Vera and Karen tell you that they're sending back the card. Well, that is still being on the side of the voter by giving them a little bit more ease to get their application into a county clerk. And who's to say You might be one of the lucky ones in Kanawha County, Eric, that they're going to process from online. So I'm not going to stop it, even if she's only picking and choosing who she wants to register. So I'm not going to stop that process, and I'm not going to stop the process in Cabell County. And we even tell the voter, if you haven't received it, contact your county clerk.
And
And-
you said that there was some notification of this back in February. Maybe I missed it. I don't remember.
Well, we've been working with the with
Was there
Cabell
public
County.
notification?
There was a story that West Virginia Public Radio had done,
They did.
but I'm still the eternal optimist that this will be a process that will be used, because it's unfair to stop a county, whether they want to use the process or not. And here's the interesting part, Eric. This is why I have my phone out. I know it's not polite to have your phone out, but here's why I do. Because when you go to the county clerk, Kanawha County Clerk's website, I'll show you, Barry, and it has a voter registration right there, Kanawha County Election Center. When you go to voter registration form, where does it take you? To the state online voter registration form. So that's why I am not stopping the process.
Can each use
And
it?
remember, 53 other counties are using this. And it's very,
But
we talk about
the
the,
largest county.
how about the second largest county in the state? Is Berkeley County. And that's the way they push their voter registration. You have Bonnie over there who touts this system and says it's the best because it saves the counties time and money. And here we have 2 county clerks who are spending extra money and extra time.
Real briefly from each of you, how would you handle it the way it's been handled or anything like this?
Only from communicating with the clerks is the fear that right now, I spoke to a clerk today. She took her husband's information that she has and he has of her. She could have changed his voting party without him even knowing so. There's no signature, and it scares her to death. And she is one of the 53. I'm reluctant to say it is because I don't want to say it. They're all fearful of the fraudulent part of it because there is no signature. You're going on a signature that's from the DMV as opposed to a signature that's at the courthouse.
But what about a new voter who's using a paper
You have a
and you don't
signature.
have a signature?
You don't have to sign that?
If you're a new, but you're not matching it to anything. That's what they're saying. You do get a signature, and maybe we need to explain online registration process. It's that signature that's from the DMV that is sent to the county clerk. And that's, if you were a brand new voter and using this card, you wouldn't have it anything to match it up to. And you wouldn't have to give all these numbers like you have to go online and use it. That's why I'm saying it's more secure. You know, somebody could sign all of your all's names.
I was in the Cabell County Clerk's office just yesterday. I've met with the Kanawha County Clerk on several occasions as well. I've met with a number of other county clerks, and I'm hearing the same thing that Patsy's hearing, okay? These people aren't against the voters. No one's trying to disenfranchise any voters. In fact, they want to encourage the voters to participate. They just want it done right because their name is on the blame line. They are responsible to ensure fair elections in their counties. And this is Republican, it's Democrat, it is across the state. I so big go. I like the county clerks. I haven't found one yet that I, just disliked or felt that they were trying to do something nefarious. They're trying to ensure that the system is fair. And so, again, my point from before was let's talk to the county clerks and get this stuff hammered out on the front end. So when it goes into place, everybody's on board, and it's just not top driven onto a county that may not be ready for it.
Here's what I think the good thing about this whole conversation is, it's much like the United States is made up of 50 states and each can largely do what they choose to do and the intent behind it is that, it's not cookie cutter. And one state may choose to do something really well and the other states can look at it and go, hey, I like what West Virginia's doing. Let's try that. And it's 50 smaller experiments going on to be better and to do better. And the same thing I think is in this case. And what I appreciate about the process anyway is that we have the counties who are setting their own path and identifying what's best for them. The voters get a say. If the voters disagree with the way this is working, we can find another clerk. But we have some counties who are willing to say, you know what, we have some concerns. We're going to do this in fashion X instead of fashion Y because we think this is the most reliable, if this is the best way to do it. But then other counties may choose to do it differently. And then in the end, we can all step back and look at what works, what doesn't work, and make better choices. So the piece from the Secretary of State's office, I believe, one of the things that as I would do as Secretary of State is my responsibility would, as I think was mentioned earlier, can't necessarily tell the county clerk you have to do it this way, but I have to encourage them or have that discussion about why do you have reservations? Why do you want to do it that way? And see if maybe there's something that we've missed or some of the other counties have missed. Let's just put it all together and come up with a good resolution, but try to convince the counties if 98% of the counties are doing it one way and 2% are doing it the other way. I think it's important to find out what is their objection to it. It may certainly be valid, and identify it, correct it, help them understand. And but again, you can lead the horse to water, you can't make him drink.
And Nellie, you have been talking to them since October.
We've provided them with the additional information that they want, and they are choosing not to use it. I mean, we've done exactly. I mean, these are great suggestions that these gentlemen talk about. This is exactly what we've done, and I think I gave you the collaborative effort that we had in place with county clerks, with other agencies, and these two county clerks chose not to be part of that. We presented it. We worked with them. We said, please test this and give us your feedback as you're talking about. And that's that's why I oversee the whole state code under the elections division. We have state code. We don't have county codes. We have a state code that makes it uniform, that there is an anticipation of what to expect for our voters and our citizens.
Well, I promised we would get to the other divisions of the Secretary of State's office, so I feel like we should do that. Now, you briefly mentioned some improvements having to do with fees and so on. Did I understand you correctly that nonprofits and businesses are paying fewer late fees or something like that? Okay. You want to elaborate on that super quickly, and then we'll get the input from the other candidates on their thoughts about other divisions in the Secretary of State.
We have had many progresses in the Secretary of State's office. You see in elections with the modernization, and the same is held true for the Business and Licensing Division also. When I started in the Secretary of State's office, about 14,000 of our 90,000 businesses were filing their annual reports online. And so that meant we were getting stacks and stacks of these reports. Well, now we've reversed that by having about 87,000 of the 90,000 filing online. So that means less time and money for the business, and certainly saves time and money in the Secretary of State's office for not having to manually input it. But we have services that are available. I had someone in the Eastern Panhandle tell me that, and talk about the office, that you could register online in the morning and you could have all the information you need by the afternoon, and that is a huge compliment to the staff in the Secretary of State's office, and to what our vision is to make it easier. Many of our businesses are small businesses, and they're doing a lot of this requirements themselves, and so we are on their side to make it easier for them. We have an online chat where someone can sit and they have a live person that they're talking to. They don't have to wait. We have certificate of existence, certificate of authority, all online to make it easier for our businesses.
Okay, very good. So let's hear from your Democratic challenger then. Mr. Treecost, any thoughts on the other divisions of the Secretary of State's office?
Only that just only as a goal of mine, it'll be clearly one, we want to be as business friendly as we can be. We want to be charity friendly as we can be. We want to work hand in hand with it. We also have to work with other branches of government, such as the Attorney General's office, to ensure businesses that are competing on a flat scale, where they're doing everything by the book, that fraudulence, either in charity or dishonesty in business, that we do everything we can to protect the good businesses and honest businesses, that if we do have fraudulence, that we jerk that license away from them. Get the information over to the Attorney General's office, and from the Attorney General's office, do the best we can to prosecute. We've got to protect the businesses that are in the state of West Virginia that are going up legitimately and without having to compete against people that are doing things unhandedly. So that's one of the key components of this. And I do believe with the new technology that we are implementing that is being spent here in West Virginia from our capital to make sure that we do that right and that we do everything we can to protect legitimate, honest businesses and charities.
Okay, now for your public candidates, sir, you want first?
I'm hearing from people frustration with some of the automation in the Secretary of State's office, in particular when it comes to trying to, what we would say Google, but they don't have a Google type system. If you are trying to look up somebody's business online, I'm being told by a number of people, a number of lawyers, you have to have every word, every letter, capitalizations proper, and if not, then that business doesn't pop up. And so it's causing frustration on their part. And this involves process of service and various other things that, in our world, you pull out your iPhone and you Google a few keywords, and then it comes up and gives you various options, and through process elimination, you get to where you want to be. But that's not the way that I'm being told that businesses are experiencing the Secretary of State's website. So I think that, and then I saw it personally within the campaign finance reporting system, a similar sort of process where it wasn't a user-friendly system. If there was one error and you tried to go back and correct that, you couldn't correct it. You had to delete that entry and then retype it in. A lot of frustration by candidates, a lot of frustration by business owners, a lot of frustration by lawyers that I'm hearing throughout the state. So I think that there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the automation arena and upgrading our systems to what the business community and the civilian world expects when it's dealing with online systems.
And
Sure, and I think the business registration is also one of the key points that I wanted to discuss. And I would concur with my colleague, Mr. Warner, on his comments. But for me, one of the big points in business registration that I think as Secretary of State I can assist in is, we have a tremendous number of coal miners who are out of work. And when the mines go down, a lot of the manufacturing goes down. A lot of the service industry goes down. So we get a lot of folks who find themselves out of work. And I've always been a big proponent of, it should be very easy to start your own business. And I think it's important that we get that word out. We meet face to face. We go down to where large pockets of unemployment may exist and show everyone how to start your own business, how to turn those dreams that you've had and you have suddenly found yourself unemployed, how to turn that dream of, I'd like to start a machine shop. I would like to do this. I would like to do that. And I know we have development offices is certainly active in those roles, but as Secretary of State, I think it's important to be on that front end, assisting those who have those dreams and point them in the right direction, guide them through the process of initiating their own business and understanding that it doesn't have to be complicated, but sometimes the fear of the unknown is a bit paralyzing. And if you have, as Mr. Warner was suggesting, if you have maybe little quirks in the system, it can be frustrating, and sometimes the frustration is enough to cause people not to take those steps forward. And so I would want to take down those barriers and try to make it easy and a little more one-on-one, a little more personable, in having those folks who have those dreams turn it into reality.
Natalie, could you just respond real quickly to what Matt said about frustrations with particularly the campaign finance reporting system? After we interviewed auditor candidates yesterday, one of the candidates said that they were having trouble using their mobile device to fill out one of the forms. And I've heard that from a number of delegates, and you probably heard that too. very difficult things disappear and reappear. Can you just talk
From,
about,
from the,
well, you remember last year with Patrick Morrissey, he submitted his thing and it was blank.
well, and that was the transition. You're right about that. I think that might have been even been in 2014, but that was the transition period from the old system to the new system. And as a matter of fact, we've gotten rave reviews from folks. I was just over in the Eastern Panhandle on Saturday, and people say, "Oh, people in your office are great." I mean, that's what we're there for in terms of being one-on-one and with people. When you do have a question, then do call. And sometimes people may have questions about what they're inputting. That's why we offered training for all the week before the filing period took place, and even on that Saturday, we had folks from the elections division in with that training, because you can't sit here and explain it sometimes to people until they then go in and maybe inputting it themselves as they're working along. And I understand that, and I
Is it
believe.
still not, the mobile devices still aren't able to do it? You can't do it on a mobile device anymore, or at all?
Are you saying fill out your campaign finance report on your phone?
Yeah.
I
People are
did not try
trying
to do
and
that.
saying that they can't do it. A number of people
Okay.
have told me.
You can view it from your phone, because most certainly that's what I've done. I would caution a candidate, just because it's here on your phone and you can make a lot of stroke errors, that if this is the only way that you have to fill this out, come to the Secretary of State's office and we'll put you
No,
on
I'm
the
just saying
computer.
that
We'll
a lot
put
of
Missy right there
people now,
beside
just
you.
that's what they're thinking they should be able to do, and they're not being able to.
Right.
Including a
We
candidate for
looked at
state
it
auditor
as a,
yesterday,
they were trying to fill it out.
on mobile
That's,
device.
I'd like to,
Others
I know that there was an auditor candidate who had some difficulties and had several conversations. I know that, as Mr. Warner talked about it, when he changed treasurers a couple of times, that can cause some frustrations as well. If someone, we've told you information to one of your treasurers and then you change your treasurer and you tell another one. So I'll look into that, believe me. We will.
Okay, okay.
Thank
Thank you all very
Thank
much.
you.